Hey everybody, what is up? It is Blaire back with another video for you. This one I'm going to do as a voiceover because there's so much that I really want to say in this video. So the other day I was watching a video from YouTuber Blaire White. Now Blaire White, if you don't know, is a trans woman who's also very Republican in her political beliefs. And Blaire was going off in a recent video about drag queens doing story times at public libraries for children. Blaire is arguing that drag is an activity that's normally reserved for over 21s in bars and nightclubs all across America, but in places like Texas there are also drag queens doing story times in public libraries and schools for children. So Blaire is really mad about all of this. Blaire is making the kind of general assumption that all drag queens are some kind of whores. You know, she is making the assumption that every drag queen that is reading stories to children is a pervert, essentially. That was the narrative that Blaire was trying to push in her video. Now, I watched all of Blaire's video and I have my own thoughts on the topics in her video. Now, drag at bars. Yes, drag at bars is for over 18s in the UK, over 21s in America. You know, it's an adult activity if it's in a bar. It's an adult activity. In bars, yes, you know, you will see a bit more provocative action in bars. You know, the dancing and the performances are a little bit more provocative and maybe not suitable for children. But drag queen story times, those are special events during the day most of the time, which are purely to cater to children. Literally, drag queens reading aloud, reading children's books aloud to children. It's harmless, it's innocent, and Blaire in her video was trying to say that it's somehow predatory, that it's somehow like parents are letting perverts read to their children, things that are just not true. Blaire was just going in and saying these things. She also mentioned RuPaul's Drag Race. You can see here in this clip, she's got a picture of Violet Chachki. Now, Violet Chachki from RuPaul's Drag Race was kind of almost naked in this photo that she took at DragCon with a young child. Blaire thinks that that is extremely problematic. And honestly, like, okay, Violet is more of a burlesque performer, does have very skimpy costumes, very scantily clad, and I can understand if some parents wouldn't be comfortable with their child being next to a nearly naked drag queen. But clearly, the parents of that child with Violet Chachki were okay with that. They were there at a DragCon event with their child, and they were okay with that. But Blaire's commentary on it is, oh my God, this is predatory. You know, very that. Blaire went on to also talk a little bit more about Drag Race, saying that she thinks some of the things that happen in Drag Race, some of the comedy challenges, are a little bit too sexual for children, like this clip where you've got Aquaria and Eureka O'Hara both dressed up as babies. Admittedly, it was for a comedy challenge, but Blaire's commentary on it was that this shouldn't be happening. Babies and children shouldn't be sexualized on TV like that, when, you know, families are going to watch a show like Drag Race. So Blaire's saying that it's not like child friendly. And again, Blaire talked about Eureka O'Hara because Eureka O'Hara was at the Netflix walkout over Dave Chappelle, because Dave Chappelle got in trouble for saying allegedly transphobic jokes on stage, which his friend Daphne, who was a trans woman, actually ended her own life over. Daphne tragically took her own life, not because of Dave Chappelle's jokes, of course, but because of the hate that she received online from other trans people who were telling her she was a bad person for not sticking up for the trans community amid Dave Chappelle being cancelled for his allegedly transphobic jokes. During this whole thing, I did make videos about this, so if you're interested in the whole Dave Chappelle, Daphne thing, then you can check those videos out on my channel. But I was basically on the side of Dave Chappelle in all of that. I was kind of defending Dave Chappelle because it wasn't his jokes that made Daphne take her own life. It was the hate from everybody online that just got too much for Daphne, and tragically she took her own life. But that is not what we're here to talk about today. You know, Blaire White mentioned Eureka O'Hara being there at Netflix to protest Dave Chappelle's special, The Closer, not being taken down. And that is why I brought that up in this video. But that's not the issue that we're here to discuss in this video today. We're talking about drag around children and drag artists around children in this video. My opinion on the whole drag with children around drag and drag events is, yes, you know, drag events in bars are not suitable for children. You know, there's alcohol at bars, and also just the nature of the performances in bars. They're for adults, you know, it's not meant for children. If you go to a drag brunch or if you go to a drag show at night, you know, it's catering to adults, it's not catering to children. However, these drag queen storytime events that are set up, which like I said are normally daytime events, they're normally like a lunchtime thing or something, they are catering to children. They're not for adults. So it's just somebody dressed up with makeup on, you know, reading aloud to children. That is all it is. That's all there is to it. There's nothing sinister there. Now, is there problems in the drag community? Are there bad people in the drag community? Yes, there are. You know, I can speak from first-hand experience of being around the drag community and having my own experiences with them, which I'll get into later in this video. But what I'm going to say is, even if you look at something like Drag Race, there was a whole scandal with one of the queens called Sherry Pie. Sherry Pie was exposed for doing things that were predatory when she was casting members of, you know, actors for a play that she was writing. There was a whole thing. I've made videos on that, and people kind of have split opinions on that. People are like, why are you trying to cancel Sherry for this? You know, when's it going to be enough for you? When Sherry can't ever work again, will it be enough for you then? But the thing is, if you're somebody who does something that's predatory or abusive to people, then genuinely, I don't think that you should be performing. I don't think that you should be given a pass just because you're a drag queen. But of course, that's not the case with what's happening at these drag queen story times. There's nothing predatory, there's nothing inappropriate, there's nothing illegal, there's nothing that's, you know, for over 18s going on at these gigs. Following on from Blaire White's video, a drag queen going by the name of Heclina. You might be aware of Heclina if you've ever watched Dragula at all, because Heclina's been a guest on there. Heclina posted on IG another queen by the name of Panda Dolce had her drag queen story time interrupted by a group of 8 to 10 Proud Boys. Now, these guys were allegedly carrying guns. They stormed into the public library where she was giving her story time, frightened all of the children, and this is what Heclina wrote on her IG. Panda Dolce had her drag queen story time attacked by Proud Boys in San Lorenzo. These knuckleheads reason that they have to protect children from drag queens, so they burst into the story hour and terrify the children.
So who brought the tranny? Who brought the pedophile?
First of all, you
Hold
don't have to wear masks.
No, thank you. Who brought the pedophile?
It's not optional.
We want to know.
You're required
We want to
wear a
know.
mask.
Oh, we're medically exempt. Thank you, though. Who brought the pedophile?
And I want to make it clear, I have no issue at all with drag itself as an art form. I enjoy drag in some contexts. I've been to fun drag shows. It's honestly a really fun activity towards the end of the night with your girlfriends to go out, you're drunk, you're going to drag bar. It's great. I used to be a really big fan of the show RuPaul's Drag Race. The Trump era kind of ruined that for me. I don't hate the show now, but maybe it's different. But once the Trump era kind of came in, the show became a lot more political and they were just injecting all this woke shit into it, and it just became different. It used to be more fun, lighthearted, goofy, and then all of a sudden they were stuffing these politics into it. Maybe it's different now. It's a new day. Let me know in the comments if you're a fan of that show and it's different now. Maybe I'll rewatch it, but like, regardless. The point is to say I am not a hater of drag. I am a hater of putting kids into situations that are sexual and inappropriate for them and their age.
Oh, so you care so much about children. You care so much about children that group of Proud Boys busting into a library with guns, Scaring the shit out of little children isn't endangering children, when all that was going on was children were sat there being read to by somebody in makeup and a wig. Something that was completely non-threatening became threatening because of these guys busting in there with their guns. Oh, but Blaire White's so worried about protecting the children, huh? Well, I'd be interested to know Blaire White's thoughts on this. A group of 8 to 10 cis men busting into a public library with staff there, a public library with parents and their children, busting in there with their guns, saying who bought the T word, who bought the P word. And that's not threatening to children? So a drag queen sitting there reading a book is threatening, but a group of guys going in under the guise of protecting the children with their guns, trapping that drag queen and the children and the parents in the building, that's not threatening? Hello? Earth to Blaire White, what planet are you on?
The argument that you see parents making for taking their kids to these events is that they're raising inclusive, tolerant, non-homophobic children by doing so. And I just feel like if you have to take your kid into an establishment where they're putting $1 bills into the underwear of a performer in order to raise them to be non-hateful, that's a bit of a f***ing reach. How about you just like raise them to be nice people? Raise them to understand that there are people different than them. You should be kind to them. What part of that involves exposing them to sexual activity?
Raising children to be non-hateful. Oh, you mean in the way that these parents were trying to do? You mean in the way that these parents took their children to a public library at a completely, what was, safe event, a completely safe and non-threatening event until your group of Proud Boys showed up with their guns? Like, what's not clicking here, Blaire? Yeah, I agree with what Blaire says in the fact that, you know, children shouldn't be in bars stuffing dollar bills into people's crotches. That is inappropriate for children, right? But a drag queen sat on her bum reading a book to children. There is absolutely nothing inappropriate going on in this picture, apart from the fact that the Proud Boys walked in with their guns. And now to touch on misogyny and my personal experience with the drag scene. The drag scene, like any other scene out there, it's not perfect. It is not perfect. Yes, there are some horrible people on the drag scene. There are drag artists who unfortunately do abuse other people on the scene. It happens. I can't deny that it happens. You know, I'm talking about being out in a nightclub in drag, myself, and having somebody come up to me who was, we'll say, a tea chaser. Now, if you don't know what a tea chaser is, look it up on Google. I'm not going to sit here and explain it. But I had a tea chaser come after me in a club, grab my hand and shove it onto his cock, basically. And, you know, that is SA, right? And that was me at a drag club, at a drag bar. You know, a place for over 18s in the UK, in drag, at a bar, and that happened to me. I've also had other friends tell me their experiences of either other performers backstage doing something sexually inappropriate to them, or I've heard other AFAB queens say things like guys have come up to them and touched them inappropriately and all of this in the clubs. That, yes, there is misogyny in drag clubs when, you know, you either get some other drag queens who are born male being inappropriate to drag queens who are born female, or you'll get punters at the club being inappropriate towards drag acts altogether, or you'll get the tea chasers, like I said, being inappropriate towards any of the acts. All of that, that is all stuff that should not happen. And I'm not making excuses or making a pass for any of those kind of things. But when it comes to things like Drag Queen Story Hour, there's just nothing harmful going on there. And Blaire White is really trying to make it more than what it is, trying to make an issue out of it. Anyway, guys, I'm going to stop this little video right here. I'm going to say take care, stay safe, stay well. I'll be back on camera very soon. But for now, I'm going to leave you with this one. Please do let me know all your thoughts, comments and opinions down in the comments below. See ya!